All righty. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Parks and Rec Day at the 2025 Vision Fund. Much like I have the past 2 days, I do like to start off by once again thanking the committee that I'm very fortunate to get to work with. They've already put in quite a lot of time and hours and made sacrifices to be here in an effort to recommend the best projects we can for the good of this community, and I appreciate every one of them for their efforts. Also, with that said, Parks and Rec, thank you guys for all of the tours that you provided. You can definitely tell it's not just a job to you guys, it's the passion. There's lots of passion behind everything that you guys do in making our community as beautiful as it is, and you'll be hard to find anybody that appreciates the park systems about as much as I do. So thank you guys again for all your efforts, and I'm very excited to see these presentations. General housekeeping, what you're seeing up there on the screen is what we're seeing here in the top left corner. It has your time, 10 minutes for the public presentation portion, and then 10 minutes following of the Q&A from us. So. With that being said, if you're ready, we're ready for you, and the floor is all yours.
All right, is this thing on? Good evening, I'm Scott Anderson. I'm the Parks Division Manager with the city. Got the pleasure to meet pretty much all of you guys at the meetings and on the site visits. Today we'll be talking about the Vicki Powers Park fenced dog park and amenities out on 940 Catherine Avenue. Out of all the projects, we're considering about 29, 30 projects. This has got to be the most fun project that you're going to have to consider. So the only way it'd be more fun if we'd have had probably 50 dogs in here showing their support. So sorry I didn't bring them. They'd have been kind of messy. But anyway, a little bit on the history of Vicki Powers Park. The land was purchased in 1990, had kind of sat around there for a few years. Early 2000s, there was a couple of tax improvement districts that were created to get some funding for the park improvements. In 2008, I believe the design was done. 2009 and 10, the park and the playground were constructed. That was my first year in the park system, 2009. It was a big undertaking with the playground construction. So it was a community build. It was a real fun project. The park was named after Vicki Powers. She served on the city council from 1985 to 89 and had a couple of stints with the planning commission too. So she was a tireless advocate of Ward 4 and the North Rapid community. She ended up passing away of cancer, I believe, in 1995. So this is where the park was named after her. Location of the park, North Rapid, obviously, a couple blocks off of Haynes Avenue. Great access from I-90 via Haynes Avenue, so people traveling through the area, if they're camping, whatever, and had a dog and needed to go run the dog, if we had a fenced-in dog park, would be a perfect place for it. It's really convenient. It's in a heavily populated kind of neighborhood with some good growth up there, but it's really not adjacent to any houses at the moment. So if the dog's barking and making commotion shouldn't hurt anybody's watching TV or nothing. So not sure what's going to go on in the field there to the south, but there could be some development there. One good thing about this property, among some of the others I'll talk about here in a second, there's no floodplain restrictions up here. This is all out of the floodplain. It should be pretty easy permitting for fencing, for amenities, all that stuff we're looking at. So currently, our park system has 5 off-leash dog areas that none of them currently are fenced. Brayburn Park is probably the most active, the most sought-after place to go. We did just finish fencing off along Highway 44 to make it a little bit safer. We were able to work with DOT and our stormwater guys to get that completed. But there is some private property intermixed with that park too, so pretty hard to get more fencing done. Wilderness Park is kind of an irregular shaped park. off-leash area there too, but not really conducive to fencing for the topography and how that's laid out. Memorial Park East, it's basically from 5th Street to East Boulevard, basically all in the floodplain issues, so kind of an unimproved area, which is good for running dogs, but no fence there either. Robbinsdale Park, that's the old landfill. So what we have down there, if you've been there, is about a mile walking path where people bring their dogs and let them kind of run out there, but really no opportunity for fencing there either. So we're kind of looking at this spot here at Vicky Powers Park. Currently, it is an off-leash area, but no fences. So that's what we're looking today to do. Here's kind of here's the overall concept plan. Obviously, once we get into design, could change a few things, but the main aspects of the design would be a parking lot off of Champion Drive with hopefully a restroom, some concrete sidewalks, lighting, and then the main bulk of the park is about 5 acres. What we would do, depending on design too, we could, the concept shows just fencing each of those 3 quadrants, so to speak, just fencing off the big areas, maybe for small dogs, large dogs, maybe big open area too. So digging into design, I would think we could probably separate those out a little bit more and get some extra areas. So I would imagine this would get a lot of use, so we'd have to rest some areas as others were getting kind of trampled down. So I think it would be it's nice and big. We'd have the opportunity to do that. Into the bulk of everything, this is kind of where we're looking at what, obviously what we're requesting for funding. The tab on the left is the basic infrastructure that we would need to get this dog park off the ground. Mainly the restroom, the parking lot, fencing, lighting, water and sewer. The water and sewer are all close by, so that's a really good thing. When we're hopefully putting in a restroom, maybe some dog water stations where we need some sewer hookups and stuff too. So just over $1 million seems like a lot, but you get into that construction, I think we could get a good, a good start with that there on the left. With the tab on the right, that's kind of the different amenities that we would see on the concept plan there. And depending on the year of funding too, we would possibly have a little bit of CIP money we could put into adding some of these amenities also. The synthetic turf, the benches, picnic tables could be maybe some memorials or donations, the shade structures, all that stuff that people would enjoy. We could have possible donations for memorials or just people that want to see it come to fruition. One kind of neat thing, if I can advance the slide. There, we're all froze up. There we go. In 2021, it was about the time, we did present this as a Vision Fund project back in 21. There was a contingent of the dog park users from Brayburn Park that came up with a proposal for our department for a fenced-in dog park. Throughout the proposal, I do have a copy of it here. They had named off some good different spots, some rules for the parks, proposed locations, which I believe none of them would be suitable for a fenced-in dog park, but really good ideas that they had, and it proves that they're, those people have a good group of dog lovers, dog people that took it upon themselves to present to us a proposal. On the back page, this is a list of about 64 names, I believe, and some comments from most of them as to why they think that Rapid City needs a fenced-in dog park. Pretty cool thing. If you've ever been out to Brayburn Park, basically any time, mainly on the weekends. That park out there, the parking lot is full. They're parking up and down the driveway and on the side streets or the side access there. And so I believe this would go over very well with the community. Would serve the whole community, especially obviously the dog people and anybody with connection to the dog people too. So ultimately, just, you know, one of the things that we've been looking at for a long time, I have a lot of calls every year about where a fenced-in dog park is, and with a little bit of funding, I think we could have the best dog park ever. And those guys would attest to it too. So. That's pretty much all I got for my presentation. Any questions, I'll obviously be here. So.
Thank you so much, Scott, for that presentation. I definitely echo your sentiment about the fenced-in dog park. I do think it would be a great addition to this community. So, but with that said, I will open it up to the committee for questions. Chair recognizes Lloyd LaCroix.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Scott, with this design, right now what the use of this park is a lot of people use the track around it for walking right now. So with it being fenced in, I can't remember, was there going to keep that gravel, or is that going to be concrete all the way around?
The plan would, well, as it sits, the base bid we're asking for would not include paving that path. Okay. That would be an additional amenity we would have to go after alternately.
But you'd probably do some concrete in the middle?
Yeah, possibly. You know, like where the shelters are, if we do the
Okay.
shelters, you know, that cross those paths that go across, and actually around the parking lot, kind of leading to each gate, so to speak, we'd hopefully get that done at least, yeah. So it'd be nice and clean.
Okay. And I guess my only other comment is, you know, I see a lot of people at these parks because it's on my side of town, so I drive by it daily. So I think it's a good plan on top of being so close to the Vicky Powers, kind of incorporates a lot of that. So, and you, I think you hit it, that area is blowing up. I mean, it's, Country Road's gonna be expanding even more, and so the population out there is, it's going to serve a lot in that area.
Yeah, definitely, and I think right across the street, there's some big apartment buildings too, that, I'm not sure if they allow dogs, but if they did, this would be a great asset for them. Yep.
I know you guys have an event side, or people that work with different events and event planning and stuff throughout the city. Do you guys get requests ever, like, I'm looking specifically at kind of more of that agility turf area, about any local dog groups that try to run like those agility deals? And if so, like, is that something that would be able to take place in a design like this?
I would think so, or we could incorporate something to that effect. In my tenure, I think the only dog, I guess, agility stuff that I know of is in Memorial Park. They've done it 2 or 3 years. It's the Rhodesian Ridgeback Club, and they bring people from all over the country, I believe. And I'm not sure the last time they did that, but it was a really good showing and kind of a cool event.
Any other questions from the committee on the dog park? Chair recognizes Reese.
Thank you, Chair. You showed a proposal from 2021. Now, that is not connected to the price quote that you've given us, correct? Is this more recent than 2021?
The price quote is recent, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Just the proposal was from 21.
Thank you.
Yeah, the proposal from 2021 was obviously a little bit less, but this, you know, times have changed a little.
Chair recognizes Mary.
Thank you. And my question is really for all of Parks and Rec. So that you gave us numbers of your 1st through 8th, are those still consistent, or have you rethought any of those numbers of best wishes?
I can't remember what they were, honestly, but we hadn't had any
Okay.
internal
Okay.
discussions to
Okay, okay, perfect, thanks.
that. Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. We definitely can see the need for something like this in our community, and I think you really hit on it with the apartments. You know, it seems like every other day I see a project of more apartments going up, and it'd be great to have a space for people that have dogs that are sometimes cooped up to have a place to go run free without having the security risks of running out into a road or something like that. So I think this is definitely a great project for the community, and I appreciate the efforts on it. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, and thank you guys for your time. Still not going to work.
Alrighty. With that, we are ready whenever you guys are to move on into the Canyon Lake Improvements Pond Wall Reconstruction Project.
Would you mind if we did take a 5-minute break in between?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm ready whenever you are.
Alrighty, I'm sure you heard the spiel. Same thing we're looking at, and your timer is up in the top left corner. Hopefully, I think we'll turn it on this time.
Okay.
And if you're ready, the floor is all yours.
All right. So nice to see you all again. My name's Melissa Peterson with the Rapid City Parks and Recreation Department. I'm really excited to talk about this project tonight, and I sincerely hope that by the end you all share our vision for revitalizing our beloved Canyon Lake Park. So everyone knows Canyon Lake Park. It has been well loved and well used for the last 135 years. It started as a resort in the 1890s. Flooding, as we know, has been a perennial problem, and there have been 6 different dams holding back Canyon Lake. After a flood in 1932, the land was donated to the city for use as a public park. In 1937, just a few years later, the WPA and CCC rebuilt the dam and built out much of the park's current layout. The 1972 flood devastated the people of Rapid City and the places, and Canyon Lake Park was no exception. Much of the park was destroyed, including most of the pond walls. So in 1974, another major reconstruction was underway, and the pond walls were rebuilt to pay homage to the style of the WPA. Now, after 50 years of wear and tear, weathering, erosion, after hundreds of hours spent fixing the walls, we are past the point of maintenance and we need to rebuild. So this table is just an overview of the main elements we're proposing to reconstruct or upgrade at Canyon Lake Park. One of the main goals is to reconstruct the pond walls for safety, accessibility, and ease of maintenance. It would include new ADA-compliant fishing piers, paved access to the edge of those ponds, making Canyon Lake a more inclusive place to fish, birdwatch, or just get close to the water. The ponds would be reshaped for optimal fish habitat. Parking lot and street runoff would be directed to new vegetated stormwater detention ponds and swales, resulting in cleaner water entering Rapid Creek. The pedestrian and vehicle infrastructure will be fixed, and lighting will be considered along the bike path. So like I mentioned, these ponds were built in 1937, rebuilt in 1974. What I didn't mention is how extensive they are. So there are about 6,700 feet, or about 1.25 miles of stone walls. The stacked limestone is a material that was used by the WPA in multiple parks throughout town, so the aesthetics of the walls exemplify the historic character of this park. And we want to honor that, like the crews did in the 70s, but the condition they're in today poses a variety of safety issues for visitors. The following slides are pictures of the walls just this month. So some of the hazards that we're talking about are tripping hazards, crumbling or loose stones, the mortar is crumbling, entire sections of walls that have tipped into the water and create larger erosion problems, places where the walls are tipping towards the water, that causes that top course to be uneven and provide uncertain footing. And last but not least, the condition of the walls has allowed water to seep behind them, creating these voids and ridges, which are also a tripping hazard. I want to be clear that the parks maintenance staff has not been neglecting these problems. They have done what they can, and they've done their best to mitigate the worst of these problems. Fixes are often done multiple times, and they age just like the rest of the walls. It's just the nature of water and weathering and human wear. That means these concerns are now too big to handle without major intervention. So with the pond walls, we're also talking about the canals. They're highlighted in orange here. Give you an idea of where they're at in the park. These graphics were done by DesignWorks, who we hired a few years ago to provide construction documents and some conceptual plans for revitalizing this park. The new ponds that you see here have been laid out to reduce the overall length of the walls while also increasing the surface area and volume of the ponds. We would be replacing the limestone with poured-in-place concrete walls with a stone-like form liner. So they'd have the look of the stacked stone, but the strength and impermeability of concrete. We'd also add a pond liner to prevent seepage into the surrounding turf. The plan would add new stormwater filtration and detention areas to improve the quality of the water flowing through and leaving the park. With the canals, we are proposing to remove 2 sections of canal down by Shelter 1 and up the canal that's parallel to Jackson Boulevard and pipe that water underground instead. This would reduce the initial and long-term maintenance costs and risk. Finally, there's a great opportunity to retain the canal that parallels Park Drive in the east part of the park, but to widen it out, slope the sides, and we could remove that chain link fence and the stone walls, plant it with riparian species, and make it functional for stormwater filtration as well. So those are just the plans, a little bigger. I can come back to this slide in a little bit if we have questions during Q&A. Another issue we'd like to address is the vehicular and pedestrian network on the east perimeter of the park along Park Drive. So we have some concerns about how people turn into the park, turn out of the park, just the proximity of that Park Drive to named Park Drive, the park access road, I should say, to the parking lot, to the bike path, to the sidewalks. It's just kind of a tangle of transportation modes there, and we would like to do something like this concept drawing on the right side of the slide, separating the pedestrian and vehicular traffic a little bit to try to reduce some of those traffic conflicts. We also feel it would really improve the safety and the sense of arrival at the park. Another thing is how people get around the park. Building accessible fishing areas means more people, and especially those with mobility challenges, would be able to enjoy the water up close. Realigning some intersections of the bike path within the park could reduce speeds and promote visibility among pedestrians and bikes. There might be some parking lot resurfacing and enlargement. And again, just a concept. The park road, which is set up for one-way traffic now, could be split up to put, again, more space between pedestrian and vehicular traffic, and to reduce the through traffic that's unrelated to park use. Some of the additional benefits of this, wildlife habitat, we've been working with South Dakota Game Fish and Parks. We really want to improve the health of this fishery, and that would in turn improve bird habitat and forage at this park. We definitely see some water quality improvements based on the conceptual plans we have. We would be working through those with Public Works and the Army Corps of Engineers. And we feel this proposal would just meet modern needs. We would still have the same activities in the park. It would just be accommodating those same activities in a safer, more sustainable, more inclusive, and attractive way we would definitely have public input. So these are kind of the project phases. So you can see about the same amount of money. We would start phase 1, then phase 2, phase 3. These are the estimates, all between about $2.1 to $2.5 million, with our total ask being about $7.1 million. So the amount that we requested in the application was $6.4 million. We realize that you have a lot of projects to consider, and I'm not jealous that I'm not in your shoes, how to choose those projects. If that's infeasible, our next request would be enough to complete areas 1 and 2, that phase 1 and 2, for $3.9 million. We do hope to get the same support that we had in 2021 from Game Fish and Parks. We had about $388,000. We would hope to get that again as well. So happy to answer some questions.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really glad you showed this last slide because this is the one that was going to be my first question. I think I remember during our tour, it was mentioned that the Northwest Park Area 1 and 2 almost had to be done together. That's correct?
It would make the most sense
Make the most sense.
just because they're connected.
Okay.
There's kind of those two series of ponds, so it makes sense to do at least one series
Right.
together.
Thank you very much. Chair recognizes Greg.
Thanks, Melissa, for coming down. This is a great walkthrough, a great project. So you had 3.9 million areas 1 and 2. Can we subtract 665 from that then for your ask? Or is that netted out already?
That's accounting for the Parks and Rec funding.
So you,
So the 3.9 plus the 665
okay. so
would be
for-
enough
so
for,
Vision Fund would be 3.9.
Yes.
Okay. And also, in the previous slide, it showed that the road would not go all the way through the park anymore. It would not be a circular or a one-way street.
that's a concept we've had. We would obviously have to work through that with Public Works and
Might be a good
emergency
idea. I just
services.
wondered if
Yeah.
it's, so people don't just make a loop. So,
Yep.
okay. Yeah, those walls are really cool, but keeping them up is impossible today,
Yeah.
probably.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Chair recognizes Matt Haswold.
The pond liners, I guess, could you explain the need for the pond liners?
So that would be like a clay lining of those ponds. We would just want to do that to prevent some of that seepage that's been kind of undermining our turf that's next to those walls. We get big wet spots during the summer as that water is seeping into that turf. So it'd just be a way to try to prevent that.
Chair recognizes Matt James.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Melissa. I'm out of curiosity, or maybe as an idea too, might there be any talk in honor of these limestone walls we're talking about, of potentially repurposing some of the rock, potentially using it, I don't know, secondary paths, or maybe even the coping on new walls?
Yeah, I think that's definitely something we could consider. We kind of did that up at Dinosaur Park. We were able to reuse some of that stone. Yeah, we would definitely consider that.
Chair recognizes Lloyd LaCroix.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Michelle, thank you for the presentation, and I like the foresight of laying it out into phases, and I like the realignment of the road with the exit. I think that makes absolutely more sense as far as for that park,
Yeah.
bringing the entrance and exit out that way. So I really like that concept. I know 7 million's a hard one to swallow, and the two, breaking it out to 1 and 2 makes sense, and I really appreciate you guys taking us out and showing us where those dips were along with the pictures, because if you don't walk that whole thing, you just kind of ignore it. So, thank you.
Chair recognizes Greg Hansen.
Thanks, Melissa. I forgot to ask, has the city asked for vision funds before in this project?
We did submit this application in the last round. It did not make it in front of the council at
Was it
that time.
packaged the same way? Do you remember?
It was very similar. Obviously, cost estimates were different at that point, but yeah, we were mostly focused on the pond walls at that point. Since that application was not moved forward, that was when we actually hired Design Works and had them do some construction documents for that first phase. And during that process, they suggested some of those other like master plan level improvements, such as realigning the road and making some other park improvements at the same time, so.
All right, thanks.
Chair recognizes Kyle Caudle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Melissa, thanks for giving us a tour on a very cold day. That was really cold. I just need a little bit of clarification on the math. I see areas 1 and 2 here, you're saying 3.9 million, but then I'm looking at the phase where you broke out the phases in the proposal, and I'm seeing 2.3 and almost 2.2, which adds up to 4 point something. Yeah, I think you had a slide on that one too, that had the 4 phases.
Yes. Sorry, just doing some quick math here. Just double checking.
If I may, I think I can help. I think she had taken the 4.5 and she had already excluded the 665 that Parks and Rec had set aside for that, which is where she got the 3.9.
Oh, okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Quick math under pressure. I was like, I think the amount's right.
If
but-
you guys are relying
Yeah.
on me for math, we're all in big trouble. So, no, I'm just kidding. Chair recognizes Holly Howie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are you guys able to do some of this work in-house to reduce the cost? Like through the Parks Department, are they able to do like some of the demolition?
There might be some that we're able to do. It's pretty hard to take on some of these larger projects. Our maintenance staff is already pretty strapped the way it is. We do occasionally take on some, demolition or kind of prep work, but I don't know that I could promise that one way or the other right now.
Thanks. I kind of two-part question, I guess, if you will. And I like that the concrete is meant to take on at least the imagery of what's been there before.
Mhm.
Does that add a significant amount of cost to, not that I don't honestly want to respect the history and give it that appeal. I like the repurposing comment perhaps, but if maybe just doing something more generic just to improve the structure itself and not as much the aesthetics on that, does that change that variable at all, or?
It would improve, it would reduce costs somewhat. Do you have any general idea?
Well, actually, adding the stone masonry probably will.
Oh, sorry, sir, if you don't mind, would you mind coming up to the mic? Just, we
Yeah.
have people that are online, and I'd just like them to hear this comment. Thank you.
Yeah, right now, the reason that we went with the cast-in-place concrete with the form liner, it reduces the cost significantly. Whenever you get into like a masonry veneer, you're probably gonna double the cost of that wall per lineal foot. And because a lot of the stone has a lot of the existing stone has a lot of mortar on it, it would be very difficult and expensive to clean all that up. We'd probably have to bring in new stone veneer for some of that work. The repurposing of the stone could be used, I think there are some places where we were actually using it for some of the riprap that we also need in the project to repurpose some of that stone. But it would be wonderful to do the original limestone, but I think because we want the walls to be less permeable, to have better stability behind the back of the walls, I think we kind of decided that it would be more cost prudent to go with the cast in place with the stone, with the form liner concept.
I think he was
Thank you.
also kind of asking about form liner versus no form liner. just like a plain concrete wall.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I guess the,
I think, yeah, obviously that would be a little cheaper, but a lot of the cost is actually in the reforcing and the concrete forming itself. The form liner is actually not all that expensive. And we can make it look pretty good. And a lot of that stone wall will actually be below the water level. So we weren't taking that stone liner up the entire length of the height of the wall. We're doing everything, you know, because there's 1.5 miles of wall out there, we decided we wanted to come up with something that was cost effective to do, but still maintain the integrity and character of the park.
thank you. And then I guess there's the second part was, is there an option where maybe it's you just exclude anything that's not directly tied to the safety of the pond walls, like where we just look at just doing the pond walls? Has that ever been, because I noticed when we went on our tour, there was, you know, probably a half a dozen kids that were standing on the pond wall edges fishing, even in that, you know, 30-degree day. You know, if something like this wasn't achievable in the near future, if you take into the safety aspect of things, is there an option to where we just reinforce or we do what we can with the stone walls to ensure that no more caving in takes place?
Wanna answer that?
Yeah. You mean like excluding excluding the other park improvements?
Correct.
And just doing the walls?
Correct.
You know, yeah, it'd be possible. I think we would still want to keep those accessible fishing areas. That's kind of part of it, and that is the element that made game fishing parks really support this project. So if we wanted to try to go after that funding again, we would still need that accessible access to those ponds. But sure, we could separate those other improvements if needed. We would, of course, love to do all of it. But
Sure, I understand.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much. That's all the time we have for that. And again, an absolutely incredible park, and it can't go overstated about how much it means to this community. And I still think it was wild that we go for a tour and it was 30-mile-an-hour winds and just not a nice day out, and there's a half a dozen kids in short sleeves and t-shirts fishing. But
They're dedicated.
But again, it's just super incredible. So we really appreciate the tour and all the information. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
All right, Scott, you ready?
I am, if you guys are.
We are moving into the Parkview Rec Complex parking lot. So whenever you're ready, sir.
All right, Scott Anderson again, Parks Division Manager. In, I guess, contradiction to my first presentation, this isn't the most fun project, probably the more sensible of the two. So I'll take off my fun hat and put on my engineering hat, I guess. I don't know if Roger Hall's around, but I give him some crap. Anyways, this is a Parkview parking lot. As you see in the overview, big parking lot, not a lot of maintenance done to it. Just to the north there's the swimming pool. West of the swimming pool is a playground. To the south is a 6-field softball complex along with a 12-court tennis court facility. The usage, the playground, we don't really track the usage on that, but it's one of the newer playgrounds we have, probably 12, 15 years old, still in great shape, pretty popular. Swimming pool. Swimming pool is open basically June 1st through mid-August every year. And on average, there's about 12,900 total users of that facility during that season, so pretty well used. The tennis courts, the 12-court complex is used by Central High School and St. Thomas More high school tennis teams. Their season runs mid-March through June 1st, which they have matches and tournaments at that facility too. I didn't get any exact numbers on that, but well used by those teams too. The softball complex is the major user in the area. In that facility, it has the Rapid City Junior Olympic Softball Association, which is the girls softball fast pitch, Stevens High School softball, Central High School softball, and St. Thomas More High Schools also use that for their softball programs, which is the high school dissanctioned girls softball in the state, I believe last year or the year before. So great facility for those teams. With all that, there's well over 800 participants and over 850 games played at that site. So if you take into account all the players, what is there, 12 to 15 on each team, plus the parents, grandparents, siblings, very, very well-used facility in that state. So, oh, come on. Next slide, please. There we go. This slide here is basically just the original construction of the Parkview complex. It was kind of done in phases. I believe this was done in the early 90s, 92, I believe, or 95. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact date on there. With that, the pool construction and the parking lot, there was a detail on the left there. It's really hard to see, but it showed a 3-inch asphalt first layer, then a 2-inch asphalt top coat. And that 5 inches of asphalt was over compacted subbase. They didn't spec base course gravel or anything. So I think that was the big reason for some of the failure in this parking lot in such a short time. What we're looking at, over the years we did, sorry, I got to point that somewhere else. In 2018 was one of the projects we completed. There was obviously some patching done prior to this. The red marks are the project we did in 2018. I believe that the darker portions that were patched earlier may have been from the street department back in 2015. And basically what we do at the street department, they do the work and basically just charge us for the asphalt. So it's a very economical way to do it, but very hard to get them to do big projects because they got so much other work to do. That project there in 2018 was basically part of another project from other multiple sites, and this was about $35,000 just for those patches. Oops, having troubles again. This is one last one. Obviously there hasn't been a lot of maintenance on our part with that, but in the end of 2018 into 2019, we did another little patch job there, a full depth replacement of 533 square yards, and we did a seal coat over the entire parking lot with some crack filling too, and you can still see remnants of that out there, but you know, it helped at the time, but it's really in need of reconstruction now. Some of the general conditions, this is called alligatoring, kind of looks like alligator skin. The asphalt starts to fail and lets water through, and with no sub base, really creates a bad condition of sinkage and potholes. What there kind of shows, you can see where the good patch was done, and there where the handicap sign is, right adjacent to those. What happens is that starts failing within the next year. So the good patch you did the year before is to almost no avail because it just starts failing on either side or either end of the patch. Little cheaper version of that, we've kind of run into some funding. The street department did help us with. We'll pay for the asphalt, go fill some holes, and this is just basically having the pothole patch truck out there, filling the depressions and really not doing any preparation. So you can imagine what that does. This would be post pothole patch just after it, so the next year it starts failing and ripping out, and we have to go back in and do it again. So it works as a temporary Band-Aid, but really short temporary. And what ultimately happens, yes, gets down to the subgrade, and then you're in for a world of hurt. So not much you can do with that but tear it up and do it right. So there's also some big seams in the asphalt where apparently maybe where they did the initial pour of asphalt, and there's cracking pretty much throughout the whole parking lot too. big number for the estimate. When the engineers I've talked to and the people I've talked to recommend a full replacement of that parking lot. And that would be basically, sometimes if the parking lot's in decent shape, you can get a milling machine in there and just, mill it all, or patch some potholes, mill it all flat, and do a 2-inch overlay. But what the thought is, if they get in there and that milling machine is really heavy, it would end up going into the subgrade, and then you'd have to tear it up all again anyway. So the recommendation was for a full replacement of that, the parking lot at that facility. Big number, 1.5 million. Like I said, not a fun project, pretty sensible, but a lot of usage out there, and a worthwhile project, even that's only 25, 30 years old. But going down the road, if you do it right, after about 10 years, I think you can do some maybe crack filling. 20 years, you can do some patching. Estimated at about a 50 to 60 year lifespan if you replace this parking lot correctly. So it would be well worth the investment if we could afford it. In our department, we really, in our CIP, don't have this kind of, that's obviously more funding than what we get for a whole year of CIP. So you can imagine how we kind of put that down on our priority list, just because there's other stuff that's safety priority, parking or playgrounds, restrooms, everything else that amenities that we need. Parking lots are important, and we'd love to see it get replaced, but we need some extra help to get it done. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Scott. I will open it up to the committee for any questions. Pretty straightforward project.
Yeah, lots of fun.
But obviously, I think you hit on it about as well as you could have as far as the usage that area sees. I think if you go back in the history of the Vision Fund, there has been lots of money that's been sent into that area for the softball complex, which is such a fantastic complex for our young athletes in this area. And the parking lot is a testament, if you will, to the great use that area sees with the pool and with the softball and the tennis and stuff like that. So I agree with you on it's definitely worth it, but it's definitely not winning any beauty pageant prizes. So, but thank you so much for the presentation. We greatly, but we have some questions now. Great. Chair recognizes Matt Hasvold.
Yeah, so I know with parking lots, a lot of the damage can come from like additional construction that takes place afterwards, just bigger trucks and staging areas and whatnot. Are there any plans to expand Parkview, the park, or any of the pool or anything like that?
I'm trying to think if we had anything. It's pretty much built out to the max right now. I know that pool's getting older. Probably within the next 10 years that may need replacement. As far as the tennis courts were post-tension concrete, so whatever, they're 10, 15 years old, so they should be good for another 30, 35 years. So one thing that does contribute to some of the destruction, especially on the softball half of the parking lot, is the garbage trucks that come in and out of there too. So obviously with that much activity, there's a lot of garbage that gets generated. So the trucks do kind of wind through there. So that might be an option later too, if we did some, if we could fix it to do something different with the trash collection.
Chair recognizes Matt James.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Scott, I almost wonder if the timing of, considering this is maybe a full redo or resurfacing, if it would allow you to consider too, maybe there's so many activity uses going on in this area, and the vehicular pedestrian circulation, if it might allow you to address maybe a sidewalk or a crosswalk or striping that would maybe make some of that more safe, getting from a vehicle to maybe the softball complex or vice versa, north or south. I just wonder if the timing might allow you to also consider that.
Like out on the road or just within the parking
Maybe
lot?
within the parking lot,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I definitely have been there where, you know, I feel like I need to hold my daughter's hand.
Yeah,
Not that I wouldn't do that in any parking lot maybe, but, it's a lot, there's a lot of activities, a lot of people going different directions. There's a lot of parking on the street there, because it gets
Yeah.
so much use as well. So,
yeah, and you know, we haven't dug into it really deep, you know, as far as options like that. I've worked with the engineering department here to come up with an estimate this way. You know, and we even thought about maybe doing half once, you know, the eastern or the northern half by the pool is in a little better shape than the half by the softball, but you know, then you're at some point going to have to replace that and drive all over your good stuff too. So they,
Sure.
you know, just recommended to do the whole thing.
All right. Well, without seeing any further questions, thank you so much for that, Scott. Really appreciate the information on
You
that.
bet. Thank you.
We'll just take a brief little 2, 3, 4 minute bathroom break here and stretch our legs, and then we'll come back and get back at it. All righty. Daryl, are you all good to go back there, sir?
Yep, we're good.
Well, thank you for your patience. When you're ready, sir, the floor is all yours.
All right. Good evening. My name is Doug Lowe. I'm the Recreation Division Manager for the city. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about Red Pessic Field on East New York Street. There it is. Kind of a picture of it. We're going to roll to this. So there's going to be quite a few things that we're going to change with this baseball field with this project, and I'm going to try and figure out this pointer the best I can to kind of show you guys, because I know the printing's pretty small on this stuff, and be able to kind of point out some of the areas that I'm going to address. One of the things we're going to do is, I know it's a iconic in-ground dugouts currently, but we're going to be yanking those out and putting on-ground dugouts in this project. We're also going to be taking out this crow's nest right here. It's kind of had better days and seen better days. And the other big thing is we're going to be taking out a lot of this concrete that runs right around here and replacing that with brand new concrete. That's the things we're taking out. Now what we're going to be installing is, like I said, the above ground dugouts. In here, right in this area, along this right here, these fences here, we'll be putting brand new fencing in there and taking out the old fence. The bathrooms over here, and this is the bathroom facility. This will get repurposed and ADA accessible. Currently, there's no ADA accessibility in these bathrooms, so that's one of the big things we'll be doing. Probably the biggest part of this project that's going to be changing if we get them your guys' support is this will be a synthetic field baseball surface, along with these pitching paths here, warm-up areas. That will be synthetic. And the other new thing that would be going on is right here, and that is called a seat wall, and that's more for drainage coming down the street here. If you've been in this area, these streets come down pretty high and a lot of water runs through here, so that's going to kind of deter some of the water to come down the street here and protect the asset that we have here. So that's kind of the project in a whole. We'll go to the next slide here. Maybe. Okay. Scott and I got the same technology skills, I think. Project estimation, $534,754. What we want to do, and the four things that we want to accomplish the most with this dollars is four main concerns to be upgraded. One of them is safety. We want to make sure that this field is playable. Right now, it's currently seen its better days. We want to definitely get this field in playable and safety ready for the participants that are on there. Also, we want to make sure that the maintenance is kept up on these fields, and actually the Parks and Rec Department is going to be doing the maintenance on these fields, on this field, and this will be the first field in the city that the city is actually going to do the maintaining on it. So this is kind of the direction that we'd like to see Parks and Rec go into, is kind of looking at the possibility of taking over some of the maintenance on some of our fields that we've had. Parks and Rec's only been a department for 20 years. We were under Public Works. So a lot of these complexes came in and were given to the associations to maintain. And so you have the parents, the volunteers, all trying to take care of the fields. And we want to look at what a field might look like if Parks and Recreation's taking control of it and working the fields and taking the maintenance on it. So I think this would be a good start to allow the community to see what the difference might be. So also beautification, the neighborhood. We want this field to look good. We want it to make the community, surrounding buildings, surrounding housing around there, know that we're taking care of it and making it look good. And lastly, the accessibility. We want to make sure that everybody can enjoy the facility, come watch their grandkids, their kids, however. Even participation. If we get this turf and how it's accessible, there's programs out there that you can have wheelchair type baseball and stuff like that. So that's other things that we're going to be looking at too, looking at how we can get accessible programming there too. This is the red peasant crow's nest that will be getting taken down. And this is the fence that will be taken down, and you can see kind of how rough a shape it is to put new fencing up. The actual fence around the field's in pretty good shape. This is the restroom facility that we will be upgrading to get ADA accessible, and see all that gravel, that will all be concrete. So that's what's going to make it accessible from the surrounding area anyway. There's kind of a look of the new ground level dugouts. And of course, there's the old dugouts that'll be torn down. And I know John made a comment when we were doing oh man, that's my favorite part of this field. You know what? I think it's everybody's. And it's a shame that you can't keep them up, but they need to be tore down. If we went and build them back up, that'd probably be, probably 4 to 5 times as much as what a new ground level dugout is. So feasibility is kind of where we're going with that one. And that's kind of showing a picture of where all the new concrete will be for the ADA accessible. So funding. Total construction estimated cost, and Vision fund request is $235,000. Parks and Recreation, we have put aside $200,000 for CIP and $100,000 from government buildings for $300,000. So looking at that, one of the things that we are looking at is that the Parks and Rec departments put in 56% of this already into this project, 56%. We're looking for 44% to finish this off and make it a world-class field. The 235 is pretty much the turf. I told you guys at the tour that we're gonna probably do this project, the 300,000 part of it, whether or not the turf part goes in, we're gonna still try and get the field going, but we just think that this project deserves a little extra push and a little something extra to make it just a premier field that all kids can enjoy, from all the leagues that can practice on it, play on it, have tournaments on it. Another field just to be able to use here in Rapid City. Impacts to the community. As we all know, this field is probably the Wrigley Field of Rapid City. 60 years use. I was from Yankton, South Dakota, and I came and played on this field when I was 12. So that was 44 years ago when I played on the field. It's probably 12 years old at that time or so. So it's got a lot of history. A lot of people have played on this field, and a lot of people know how the history of it, and it's exciting to be a part of maybe carrying the tradition on and moving this field further into the future. We're definitely interested in the investment of our future. By redeveloping Red Pesic into a championship level field, we'd be creating a safe, clean, fun, and welcoming space where the kids of all ages can play. And that's one of the key things we've heard a lot. It's about bringing kids and getting them out and practicing and playing in areas. And this is just one of those areas that would be great to get going here. With that said, recreation is going to be trying to start a new endeavor. We're trying to get involved with baseball a little bit and softball and kind of starting our own program. And it's not going to be to rival the Little Leagues. It's going to be a program to that's emphasized on like fun and going to be emphasized in instruction and really fundamentals. You know, we're not going to want to worry about who's making all-star teams and who's making travel teams and stuff like that. It's going to be for the kids that, you know, just want to come throw the ball around and play with their friends, you know, kind of a backyard type of league. And that's what we have with our flag football league right now. And we're going to be setting up a basketball league too this winter. So that's kind of the programming that we're going to start. So we want to make sure that we have a place to do that that's really good and safe and fun for them.
Thanks, Doug. We hit our time there, so I'm going to want to leave some time here for the committee to be able to answer some Q&As, but thank you very much for the presentation, and we'll start with the chair recognizing Matt Hasvold.
Yeah, so for the rec league, how much would you charge per kid?
Well, currently we do football at $60 a kid, so we're going to make it very affordable. Some of our own staff help in some of those leagues and stuff like that, so we make it very affordable for them. We supply like a T-shirt and practice like 1 time, 2 times a week, and just games would be 1 time a week, and it's during the week, so there's no weekend stuff. That's kind of what we're looking at. We'll have to look at and analyze what all the exact costs are for it, but that's kind of where we're leaning at.
Chair recognizes Lloyd LaCroix.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Doug, thank you for the presentation on this and the Parks Department's passion for this. Like you said, 60 years in the making. You probably got 3 generations of Rapid Cityans have gone through that field, at least that I know of. I know a lot of us have. And to see I remember the field was in really good condition back. I can't remember the guy's name who ran the car wash, but he did a lot of the maintenance way back. But to see where it's at now and see that you guys' passion to redo it, this is like one of my top 5 on my list that I think not only with the input that you guys are going to put in, but what you want to make it. I mean, 235, I was thinking you wanted the full 5. I knew you were talking about 300, but you kind of shocked me with the 235, and so that makes it even a better project than I thought it was. But I think for that area, that's the biggest bang for the buck that we can get, I think, to improve that area, make that park, that field beautiful, tying into the field, tying into the swim.
Well, one of the things that we have noticed is when we get active play in areas, some areas that aren't so attractive become better areas because the activity, there, the good things that are going on kind of drives some of the negative stuff away, and that's kind of one of the things that we're hoping for down there too, is that we bring some real good active play down there and turn things around.
Any more questions on Red Pesic Field from the committee? Chair recognizes Greg Hansen.
Thanks, Doug. It's fun to be down there. I was there a long time ago. I, as a kid, met Red Pesic. He lived down the street before the flood. So it's cool to be there. The analogy with Wrigley Field is spot on. If anybody's ever been to Wrigley Field, it's kind of a tough area until they jazzed up the field. So this could be a real revitalization for that area. Bright lights, good activity. I'm glad the city leaders, department leaders have the passion to push something like this. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't happen. So, and you guys finding some more money to put towards it, that helps. So I think it's a good one. Thank you.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much, Doug, for the presentation. Greatly appreciate it, sir.
All right, thank you.
Alrighty. If everybody's ready, we'll move forward with the restroom improvement presentation. Darren, if you're all set, sir, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good evening, Vision Fund Committee. My name is Darren Sabers. I'm a landscape designer and project manager for the Parks and Rec Department. So this project is looking at kind of our critical restrooms, ones that we currently have, areas where we currently do not have restrooms. The goal of this project is to add restrooms to areas that don't have them and then replace a couple of older dated ones with newer ADA compliant restrooms. The proposed restrooms will offer fully accessible stalls and amenities. They'll cost less to operate, maintain with enhanced building materials, reduced utility consumption, as well as safety and reliability components compared to what is in place now. The total ask for this project is $1.24 million and change. And we'll dive into the different areas. So our first priority is Market Park. I don't know if you guys are familiar, that is the home of the Black Hills Farmers Market. They were formerly housed in Founders Park, great location, had a restroom there, good setup. And then due to growth, they were moved down to Market Park, and there's currently no restroom there for those patrons and vendors for their weekly farmers markets. The proposed structure for this facility, it's a precast structure. It's a CXT Taos model or equivalent. So those come in different segments from the factory. They're shipped to site, and then they're craned onto the pad. Utility hookups are really quick and easy. They're efficient. They're concrete, so they're not going to break down anytime soon. The proposed cost for this facility is estimated at $340,000. The next one on our list is Thompson Park. Currently, there's no restroom there. The previous restroom, shelter combo, was removed about 5 years ago due to safety concerns with the age and the condition of the structure. The proposed facility there would be a Portland Loo. I don't know if you guys are familiar with a Portland Loo or what it is. They were designed in the city of Portland to discourage crime, lingering, a lot of undesired activities that typically happen in restrooms. They're gaining in popularity for a number of reasons. The closest one to us is Billings, Montana has a few of them. Missoula, Montana has one as well. They're continuing to grow and spread. They are made out of stainless steel, so there's no need to paint them. They have anti-graffiti walls, and yeah, they're pretty bulletproof in a sense. The cost on that is just about $220,000. Next on the list, we have the West Fulton Trailhead. Currently, there's no restroom there. So again, we'd like to put a precast model in there, ADA compliant. That one's $168,000. The next on our priority list is College Park. They currently have a restroom, which you guys, thank you for coming out and touring that with the group a couple weeks ago. This one, we're looking to put a similar model as Market Park. This one's a little less because the utilities are already there, whereas Market Park, there are no current utilities. So this one would be about $295,000. And then last on the list is Roosevelt Park. The restroom there was installed in the 90s, and it's had some tough love over the years. Unfortunately, we were not able to open it last year. It remained locked for the remainder of the restroom season. It's had a lot of abuse. So again, we're proposing a Portland loo at that location as well at a cost of $219,000. So to sum everything up, I don't know who's changing them, but thank you. Clean, accessible restrooms in parks improve the overall park experience, encourage visitors to spend more time participating and engaging in healthy activities. Public restrooms contribute to a more livable community, encouraging physical activities and support tourism. Restrooms are often overlooked but play a crucial role in providing high-quality city parks, which is the main goal at Parks and Rec. Rapid City Parks and Recreation will be able to contribute $150,000 to the project through our 2027 CIP, our Government Buildings Fund, and then $323,000 in 2028 from our Government Buildings Fund. With that being said, do we have any questions?
Thank you, Darren. And yeah, thanks for doing that tour that day. And you know, kind of one of those projects that's never going to make the front page of the paper,
Yeah.
but you know, to actually go into the restrooms that we did that day and see the layout and just, you know, kind of how dilapidated everything looked, it kind of opens your eyes, and nonetheless makes all the parks that much more usable and user-friendly for sure. So thanks so much for the presentation. Chair recognizes Lloyd LaCroix.
Thank you, Chair. And I totally agree with John and what he just said. One of the big ones I see on here is Thompson Park, because it had one and then it was removed, correct?
Correct, yep.
And that park there is surrounded by about 800 mobile home courts, or trail, it's a mobile home court, about 800 probably by now. And so the residents there pretty much lost a shelter, picnic area, everything else on that. But one of the things I just wanted to stress how badly they need a bathroom down there. But also, this was Portland Loo. I don't know why, but I like it. I think it's the footprint. It's a smaller footprint compared to everything else that you've shown. You've shown bigger ones. And so maybe that's why I like it. It could be in different areas. And so what made you decide in some areas of Portland Loo? Is it because you feel vandalization's higher in that area, or is it, and you want something nicer, pitched roof in a place?
Yeah, more or less just kind of predicted use. We feel like the Portland Loo with its one stall would be enough to cover that region. Okay. And then partially some of these regions, with the amount of vandalism that happens, we feel that this would be a good solution to discourage that.
Yeah, because it seems like that Portland Loo, if they could get that down in price a lot, you could have a lot of different areas along the bike path or something like that.
Yeah, they're great, but again, it is just a one stall.
Yeah.
And the cost is kind of higher on that compared to some other options, mainly just for the fact that it is made out of stainless steel. So that is kind of a driver of the cost on those.
Chair recognizes Matt James.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Darren. Of the sites that don't have a restroom facility, can you talk about how the location of the restrooms was chosen? Maybe you can even show it.
Yeah, I could, All right, so Market Park is the most challenging one. There are no current water lines anywhere near there. The closest connection we could make is kind of by the spa shop right there on the entrance into Market Park. There is a sewer line that is relatively close, so we kind of balanced the location, and then, you know, based off of parking lots and pedestrian traffic throughout the parks, that kind of played a role as well. Oh, that thing? Okay, yeah, cool. Apparently there's a laser on this. And then Thompson Park, this is close to where the old, there we go, the old restroom and pavilion was. So we're gonna try to match it up with that just for logistics, proximity to existing utilities. And then West Fulton Trailhead, all the city utilities are within 80 feet of the location of this one, so that's kind of how we cited that, just to keep the cost down. College Park, we're going to put it right back where it was. Again, for the same reason, the utilities are already there. There will be some upgrades to the utilities, but they're going to be very minimal. And then Roosevelt Park, again, that one's going to go close to where the old structure was.
Any other questions from the committee? Chair recognizes Greg Hansen.
Well, thank you. Darren, in the last slide you showed the city has $200,000 or $300,000 set aside. Is that netted against the ask of 1 million? Is it,
It is not. So no, we could reduce our ask by what we can bring there. So the total project cost I had is for everything. So, you know, depending on vision fund allocations, that's what we can bring to the table. So the almost 1.3 million can be reduced.
okay, okay, thanks.
Just to clarify too that, you know, obviously with the unique amount we have per year, you guys would very much be interested if we could say, hey, we can fund 2 of these restroom facilities. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like any other department, and you know, you've been hearing it from all the other organizations requesting funding. We're definitely stretching our penny as far as we can.
Right.
So we'd be more than happy to take whatever we could possibly get.
And you know, because very much I can see us, you know, the analogy of you kind of try to get your big items funded, and then in between you have these kind of unique amounts that are
Filler projects.
Filler
yeah.
projects for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. So very good. And I do think that they were gracious enough to send us a list of how they kind of prioritize the restrooms. So the committee has that to consider as well, if it did come down to that. But thank you, Darren, for the presentation and for that tour that you gave us that day, and for everything you've done for Parks and Rec, and we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys as well.
All right. If everyone is ready, we will give the floor back to Melissa for the median beautification project. Miss Melissa, if you're all ready to go, the floor is yours to start whenever.
All right. Thanks again. Melissa Peterson, and up here now to discuss our proposal to beautify and enhance a handful of highly visible street medians in our town. So, at first glance, people may wonder why this was submitted as a Vision Fund project. What we see in our city environments is really important. It shapes our days and our beliefs about our community. We want to and need to see beautiful landscapes and not just concrete and asphalt. We really believe that at parks, of course. These interstitial areas, areas where there aren't any activities but do have to exist for traffic safety reasons, are also crucial to how residents and visitors form impressions of Rapid City. The 4 locations that are included in this application are all on highly traveled streets, and they are in and on the way to our very important civic, entertainment, and retail districts. Why we need this funding is that planted medians require proper consideration, and frankly, they have not always been given that. For plants to survive in these conditions that can be kind of harsh and hot, they need proper space to establish roots. They need careful selection of species. They need functioning irrigation systems. Sometimes they need protection from road salt, and they obviously need ongoing maintenance. 2 of the medians we're discussing today have not been planted with anything other than turf grass, and they might just have crabgrass right now. 2 of them have been planted before, but they need some reinvestment to look good again. So going forward, the way this presentation is set up, I'll show you the existing conditions at a location, specifically because I did not offer tours for this. Didn't really want to take 12 people out on a narrow median, make you all cross traffic like that. And then I'll show you the improvements we're hoping to do at that location, 1 location at a time. Then we'll go over the estimates for each location and what we're requesting from the Vision funds. This project was submitted as one, but our phasing is flexible. Each location could be completed separately, just depending on how much funding could be granted. So this first location is North 5th Street. It is directly east of the monument. It's near downtown, Memorial Park, the Journey Museum, Minaloosahan Senior Center. So these really important civic and entertainment destinations in Rapid City. It's, like I said, on North 5th Street between North and New York Street. As you can see in the pictures, currently it suffers a lot from road salt overspray. That's what that white cast is on the soil. There's no irrigation system, and so all it supports right now is patchy grass and weeds. But we have many, many cars pass by there, and we really wish it looked better. So what we're proposing is to install an irrigation system, a splash guard curb, like one of those sloped paved edges that you see on some of the street medians in town, to decrease that road salt spray, installing a new irrigation system, and then this median is actually quite wide compared to some that we do have planted right now. Makes it a really great candidate for actually being able to establish some plants here and making this really prominent location look better. We did actually hire a consultant in about a year and a half ago to develop plans for this. So those have been developed, and they're, with a few small tweaks, they'd be close to being ready to bid. The next location is on East Omaha Street. As you all know, one of Rapid City's busiest streets. It's Highway 44 through a lot of town, takes you through the north of downtown. The median we're talking about specifically is between First and Second Street, just west of East Boulevard. So this has an irrigation system. Some of the trees and shrubs are surviving today. But as you can see, there's very large blank spots. And a lot of the vegetation has died over the years. So what we're proposing here, this is actually the cheapest location that we've estimated because the infrastructure's in place. That curb is there, the irrigation is there. The irrigation may need some repairs. We do feel reasonably certain that there will be some repairs needed there, but the infrastructure's there. And there would be minimal design work needed because we would basically copy the planting design that's south of Founders Park that was put in a couple of years ago. So that would be another section we would request some funds for. This next one is North Street under I-190. This is, the interstate bypass that comes into downtown. It's really at a city entrance, and it's kind of forgotten for being at a city entrance. It's a pretty large area. There's no irrigation system now, and so because of that, it's patchy grass and pretty brown. The landscape beds underneath the bridge are actually just mulch, so really doesn't look very good. What we're proposing here, this is a fairly extensive concept. I think it could be pared back some. We would want to make sure that what we're proposing is really meeting our needs now, but we would propose putting in a new irrigation system, some native trees, grasses, and shrubs. The area between the sidewalk and the curb, often that's kind of a pain point for maintaining landscapes. It's often not wide enough really to install irrigation and keep healthy vegetation alive. So sometimes what cities do is pave that area, and that's what we would be proposing to do. And this would just really make a nicer entrance if you're getting off of I-190 to go to the monument or to go to Central High School, to take a little different route to downtown. It would also be a really nice location for some sort of welcome sign into Rapid, which doesn't exist in this corridor. And then the last location is exit 60 on I-90. This is East North Street if you're looking at local street names. And this is the exit you take to get to Rushmore Crossing. This was planted previously, and it was just too unsustainable for our department to manage. I think a lot of people don't know that often with DOT projects, we are sometimes involved in the design, and we end up being left with the maintenance of a lot of the DOT projects that are in city limits. So if we're not really involved in design, we often are left with landscapes that don't really meet our needs as a department to maintain. So this is kind of how it ends up a lot of the time. This does have an irrigation system. There are some things that are surviving, but the conditions are really harsh out here. So what we're looking to do, this is one location where less is more. The traffic here, we want to make it as simple as possible. We would go back in, We would go back in with a few native trees, some native grasses. I think this would be a good opportunity for some pollinator habitat in those triangular areas, and that would be a lower maintenance scheme to maintain out there. The project estimate, each of these phases, like I said, could be separated quite easily. We might see a little bit of cost savings if we combined a couple of phases, just, mobilization and that sort of thing. But we'd, again, kind of like Darren said, we'd happily take money for any of these to help improve our entrances into the cities and people's impressions of Rapid City. Really, we want these landscapes to look so much better than they do, and with the proper design and care that we really think we can achieve. I think that's, I think that's really an achievable vision for this project. So what we're looking for from vision funds, if we did all four, would be 1.1 million. We might be able to provide some money for design or some grant funding for plant material. But these landscapes do kind of fall a little bit lower in our priority list, again, because we're often focused on activity areas, and but I think these are also very important to the overall aesthetics of the city. So that's where I'm going to wrap up, and I'll take any questions now.
Thank you so much for that. And yeah, totally echo kind of what you said there about, you know, especially as you exit I-90 on two of these, you know what I mean? It's kind of your first view into our city as you're coming in. And then the one by the monument, you have such a beautiful facility that we've spent so much money on, and to kind of beautify around it, you know, only adds to that. So thank you for a great presentation. Chair recognizes Lloyd LaCroix.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I share that sentiment also. It's disappointing that DOT doesn't do a better job with landscaping around. I've seen a couple of these reconstructions that are bad. When I look at these, I see one that I think is very important, and that's the Fifth Street one. And the reason why is because I think building that up, you're going to create more of a safety. We've had 2 vehicles go off the side of that road into those apartment complexes. If we could build that medium up a little bit and help prevent that, I think we just had it last year. So that one, I think, is a pretty cheap price, and I think for safety reasons why I would support that. But I do like the idea also closer to the mall also. I'm not sure if I could support all of them, just because I'm disappointed in DOT, but the Fifth Street one I do see as a real safety issue.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Mary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Have we looked at the landscaping companies to see if they could donate any of the plants to bring some of these costs down?
We have not asked around about that. I couldn't say whether that would be a possibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But I did briefly touch on the Stearns grant that's listed on this slide here.
Yeah.
That is a grant that we do apply for every year with our beautification committee and our urban forestry committee. That grant can only be used for plant material. It can't be used for irrigation or, you know, mulch, the supporting features, but it can be used for plant materials. So we would be able to apply for that to help a project along if we needed.
So I'm kind of curious, could we, go to Plant Smith and say, you give us the plants and we'll put a big plaque saying donated by? I mean, I'm looking for pennies here. I'm looking for nickels and quarters and dollars here. I mean, this is, to me, this is a great project. They're all great projects. But coming in as a tourist, you notice stuff like that. And so maybe, Daniel, that's a question to you. Could that be a possibility?
Chair recognizes Daniel from Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that is absolutely a possibility that if companies make, significant donations of property, materials, whatever, they can be recognized. However, you cannot do that, actually, now that I said that, you can do that on city property, but on state right-of-way you cannot. And I imagine, though I've not looked on the maps here, but these are probably all state right-of-ways, so please forget what I just said. I'm sorry.
I think some are city right-of-way, some would be state right-of-way,
So maybe an option for the city, like the Omaha Road one, maybe?
Omaha would be state.
Oh, fine. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all, I appreciate it.
No, it was a great idea.
Thanks.
Chair recognizes Matt Hasvold.
Yeah, I just wanted to get the priority right for what you guys want. So is it just, location 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 is the first priority, 2 is the second?
No, we had, I think I kind of skimmed over it on one of these slides.
It was a table, I think.
I can help with that if you don't.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go, this one. So up there at the top, we had
Oh, there we go,
department
yep.
priority. I know we gave that to you a few weeks ago. We kind of chose these by redoing the ones that have the infrastructure in place first. They're a little bit lower asks and, it would be mostly just the plant material that needs upgrades. So we had the I-90 exit as probably the most seen location. East Omaha is the second priority. 5th Street we had as our third priority. However, if you guys see it differently, that's fine. And then the I-190 as our 4th priority. That was mainly for cost, and probably, I wish I had actually traffic counts, but that might be the least visible to the, to people. So that was kind of our prioritization for those.
Any other questions or comments from Melissa on this median beautification? Well, thank you so much again, Melissa, for this. We really appreciate it and appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you.
All righty. That said, we welcome back Scott
Yes.
with another exciting parking lot.
All right. Thank you so much. Before I get started, he's going to click the button, but if you haven't done so already, Google Portland Loo. They're really ingenious. I think you'd really like them. I think that'd be a good option for a lot of our restrooms. So anyway. All right. Scott Anderson again, Parks Division Manager. Last presentation, we're talking about the Rapid City Outdoor Recreation Complex. That's the proper name of this facility. It was latter named the Star of the West Complex. I believe the orientation of the field looks like a star, and that was kind of the mantra of the city for a while, too. Usage out there is quite extensive, just like the Parkview Complex. Thousands of people throughout the summer. The Rapid City Softball Association is primary user out here with an average of over 150 adult softball teams on a yearly basis. They do tournaments about every other weekend, May through September. A couple of the tournaments of note, they host the Native American World Series. They've done that the last couple of years, I believe, and get hundreds and thousands of participants and fans. I think that's a great event for them, along with the Rushmore Classic softball tournament, which is, I believe, the girls' fast pitch that operates out of Parkview, plus they use these fields. They actually put temporary fencing plugs in for that tournament too. So the outer fields, there used to be soccer fields there operated by the Lacrosse League. I didn't find out the exact number of players, but I'm pretty sure it's over 100 players in the Lacrosse League. And I'm not certain, but there was not politically correct, but midget football league for the young kids out there in the fall too that use the outfields of the softball fields. So lots of usage, lots of people throughout the year that use that facility. The parking lot numbers, just for clarity of what I'm going to show you, coming in off of Sedevy Lane, the big parking lot number 1. Then as you go around the complex, number 2, 3, 4, and 5. So just to get some orientation there. I dug into the archives a little bit on the history. The actual complex, this plan was from 1990, was the original plan to do irrigation, seeding, and utilities out of the complex. No parking lots at that time. They waited for the year after that, 1991. They had everything kind of growing in and started working on parking lots. This is the main parking lot coming into the complex, parking lot number 1 in 1991. So fairly old. I don't have, what is that, 30-something years old? In 1993, they did the next parking lot. That would be parking lot number 2, kind of just to the, on the southeast portion of the complex. Following year, in 1994, they did parking lot number 3, just kind of working their way around. 1990, what was that? What did I just do? Yeah, 1994 was parking lot number 3, sorry. And then 2001, it was kind of confusing. That was the last parking lot kind of addition on the back side there, on the west side. And there's one more parking lot, that parking lot number 5, that I couldn't find the plans on, but I believe it might have been shortly after parking lot number 4. So, as you're orientated now, kind of the existing conditions of the parking lot are pretty much the same as kind of what's going on over at Parkview with the alligatoring, water penetration through the cracks and the asphalt, and then that turns into an unstable subgrade, which ultimately leads to conditions like this. And that's on one of the main drags kind of going through the parking lot. So when you're coming in or out, that's where you're going to be driving. So pretty extensive use. Happening here, the same as Parkview. We have some good patching done there, and then deteriorating right next to each patched area too. So. Along with that, it just gets a little bit worse. Asphalt chunks getting drove over. They kind of pop out of the surface there and cause terrible conditions. Then again, too, you can see where the new patches have been, deteriorating in between them and on the periphery of all of them. And there is some longitudinal cracking and letting water into the subbase there too. I searched pretty hard to see what we've spent out there, and I couldn't find any CIP projects we did, but I know in my tenure, we've probably spent $500,000 out there. I know last year, we were kind of beside ourselves, didn't really know what to do, asked for help from the street department there and again, and just told them, do what they can to fix whatever they can. And they asked me how much money we had, and I said, just do it. And I think they spent $15,000, so just on the asphalt cost. So we tried to put some stuff into it, but as you see, it's kind of to no avail. Estimate on the project, there's a couple different, I'm not an engineer, so I won't be a good one to really talk too much about it, but what I understand, the cheaper version is a chip seal, basically over the entire parking lot, but doing patching and a mill and overlay on the worst spots would be that parking lot number 1 and number 2 have the worst deterioration. So that'd be patching those bad spots, milling those down flat, and the rest of the lot. And they figured that the milling machine would work out there, and then just doing an overlay. So $736,000, which is pretty decent for the size parking lot out there. If we wanted to go that route, it wouldn't be as, the longevity wouldn't be quite as long as doing the next option, but would be an option to do. A little more expensive option would be an inlay, which would be repaving most of it in lieu of the patching and mill and overlay, so, and chip sealing everything. So there'd be a lot more asphalt involved in this, a lot more work, but by doing this, the end product would be a lot better and have a lot more duration, after the project was done. So you'd probably get another, 40, 50 years doing this, and on the first estimate, probably be maybe 20, 25 years. So overall, then again, it's this one's probably the most fun project you're gonna look at today. So it's double the size of the other one, so double the fun. So anyway, that's about as fun as I can make those. I had I was kind of looking through other archives and just found these today when we had an engineer, if you remember Keith Johnson, he was a longtime city worker with the engineering department. He helped us with a ton of projects. He did some parking lot inventories in 2018, I think, 2019. He worked for us for a short stint. His recommendation in September of 2017 is the lots should be repaved. So we're a few years out from that and it hasn't been done, so. He did say that they would probably be lots 3, 4, and 5. We're in a little better shape, so regular maintenance on those would suffice, but yeah, definitely those first two would be good. And if we could do a whole chip seal project would be great, so. It's as much fun as I can do talking about this. If you have some questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them.
Thanks, Scott. You know, all kind of jokes aside, you know, the community impact and the economic impact of this facility, I think, is really underrated in our community. I know that the Rushmore Shootout baseball tournament that started last year had, you know, 30 or 40 teams. I know this year it's already at 70. So, and we, you know, they mainly use this facility, and so, not to mention all the local folks that go to play softball there. I think it's dang near every night. So, and the Native American World Series is such an incredible event that takes place out there. And so I also know that we've invested money in the sidewalks, in the irrigation system out there. And so the infrastructure, as much as it's never going to make the front page of the paper, is still just as necessary as the grass on the fields that they play on. So definitely a great project. And I do appreciate you bringing it forward and bringing attention to it, because it still has to be done at some point, right? Yeah. And or else everything around it's going to fail. So thank you so much for the time. With that said, Chair recognizes Lloyd LaCroix.
Thank you. I had some, you know, parking lots aren't sexy, but I mean, and I had a lot of I got a lot of questions about it failing the asphalt, but I know you're not the expert on it. But I was looking at your past one on Park View, and what I'd seen with a lot of different areas that are doing parking lots, they're putting that it says geogrid on that one. Are they putting felt down underneath it before they're putting another layer of support? Because we're having a lot with our soils, a lot of failing of that. Is it poor design at the very beginning, at the start, is why ours are failing so quickly? Or is it, you know, this Parkview, I was surprised to see the geogrid in there. And then this one over here in the Star of the West, none of that's, it's just talking about fixing the base and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I, you know, from what I've gathered between Parkview and Star of the West, I mean, they're oceans of asphalt. And I believe probably at the time they were looking at cost of how to get that put in. So maybe thinking scarifying and packing that sub base the way it is would suffice. And I think it did right away. But, you know, once you get any little moisture down in there, it just deteriorated really quick. Talking about the geofabric, we just had a parking lot done in Robbinsdale. They just paved it this week. The initial design was to mill and overlay, but the contractor first got out there before he even started, said this isn't going to work. Yeah. So they tore out what they could, and I was over there last night on our park tour, and they had all that geofabric down, so they were going to pave. They had an initial payment, then they lay the fabric and then do the top coat off on that. And it's supposed to be a lot more stable. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm glad you got a contractor that said he wouldn't do it without putting it down.
Yeah, yeah, and he
he's
wasn't.
He's got to guarantee it. So.
Yeah, for sure. And they weren't about making a bunch of extra money. They were just looking out for the interest of the city, which was great.
Yeah, that was the only question I had. Is I just seen one side had it and one didn't. And it makes sense with the problems that we're having that it's better to invest the money early on than it is later.
Definitely, and I think, you know, if we did get funding, you know, we could look at design and see if there's other opportunities for the geofabric.
Any other conversation? Yes, Chair recognizes Greg Hansen.
Thanks, John. Has this been ever submitted for vision funding before? Do you know, Scott?
Not that
Any of these parking lots?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, okay.
No.
Thanks.
Anything else from the committee? Well, thank you again, Scott. Appreciate everything you do.
You bet. Yeah, and thank all you guys again for your volunteer up there. And yeah, like Melissa said, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes trying to figure out who to fund here. So, good luck.
Alrighty. Mr. Lowe?
Yes.
If you are ready, sir, we will move on with the Meadowbrook Golf presentation. So whenever, sir, your floor is yours.
All right, thank you again. I will reiterate what Scott said, you guys' dedication and just all them tours and all these presentations, listening to them, just thank you for that and your dedication to Rapid City. Meadowbrook Golf Course irrigation project is probably another one of those not real sexy kind of projects, but also another one that's needed. The estimated cost for our irrigation project is about $3.1 million. We just currently, if you've been out the Executive or drove down I-190, you probably see that Executive just had irrigation put in there. This one is just as old as that one. We just happen to have enough money saved aside to be able, out of our own budget, to be able to do that project, along with the irrigation out at Star of the West. So we kind of combined those and got a good bang for our buck, and that's why we went down that road with those projects. So we're looking at about 3 times as much heads and 3 times as much pipe as we had at Executive, and Executive was about $1 million. So our costs come in at about 3.1. You were out at the tours that night. Just a couple more pictures of what we have going on out there. This kind of action happens quite often out at the golf course now, and you'll be amazed. This is what it looks like now, like you guys saw. By the end of the summer, middle of the summer, it'll look way better than that, and that's because we got great people that are working out there to restore it and bring it back in. So you go out there in July and you're like, oh wow, there's nothing wrong in here. It's a lot of things that happened earlier in the year where they took care of it and then grew it back in afterwards. So just so you realize, when you're out there in July and seeing, oh, doesn't look like there's been any breaks out here. The grass looks great. That's what's happening. Is it's early in the season when we find most of these breaks. They do break during the season too, but they don't look as bad as these pictures when they do. Scott, I didn't know you were so much shorter than me. Here, I gotta move this up. Reasons for this project. One of the things that we continually tell you, and it should be out there, is that Parks and Recreation gets $1.3 million to $1.5 million a year to take care of millions of dollars worth of assets. And one of the things for a reason for this project is our capital budget constraint. We would have to take 3 years of our capital to put into this project to get it accomplished. And that means we wouldn't do anything else anywhere else in the whole park and rec system. That's kind of where some of our problems come with Parks and Recreation. So put that in perspective, I thought that would be a good thing to have in this slide. So vibrant, livable community. About 35-year-old system. We spend about $25,000 a year on replacing pipes, heads that falter, and that's just ongoing maintenance that we have, and it's starting to creep up even more than that. We're starting to get more in the $25,000-$30,000 range with that too. We feel that Meadowbrook is a real huge asset to the city. Valued community amenity is how we put it on this, and that's in the comp plan. And we feel it's worth protecting. It's something that we feel is viable for the Rapid City to have. We also want to protect our water quality. So when we do this project, we'll be working with Public Works, Army Corps to make sure that Rapid Creek is preserved and there's nothing that we harm or cause more stuff to happen in the floodway. The third thing is our strategic planning. Back in 2012, we did a 10-year master plan with Gill Design Golf Course Architects, and there were 3 capital improvements. The top 3 that they said that we needed to do back in 2012 was to redo our bunkers, which we did, build a water toilet instead of just using outhouses, and we did that. And the third thing is to do our irrigation over. Well, it's 2025, and so we still haven't accomplished that one. So that's 13 years ago, they were telling us we needed a new irrigation system there. And so we're bringing this forward for the second time to answer any questions. This did get brought up last year, or the last time we had the Vision Fund. This was one of the projects that was brought forward. Modernization of the improvements, water efficiency, turf health, labor conservation, less staff time would have to be spent on it, and long-term sustainability also is a big part of this project. Costs, upgrading the system, efficiency and cost savings. Like I said, we got about $40,000, 30 with equipment and stuff like that, but I think we'd also have quite a bit of water usage that we'd be able to save if we have the new system too. So that's something that we would want to take into effect. There was a question on the tour if we had water rights, and what we do is we pay for water that is drawn out of the creek. So there isn't free water for the golf course, like in all the parks and stuff. They don't have to pay for water, but we do have to pay for water at the golf courses. One of the other things is community impact. During the COVID-19, our golf courses were the only thing that was open during COVID-19. All the swim centers were closed, the ice rink was closed. It was used, and a lot of people gained interest in golf during that time just because that was one of the active things that they could do. And we think it's very viable to have activities like that to, during pandemics or during times of crisis that people can go out and mentally take in the, just like our park system was too. All our parks were huge during COVID. So I guess last thing that I want to just say is that the golf course is a program that we have that is for all ages. Our youngest kid that we had in program last year was 4 years old. And the oldest guy that has a pass at Meadowbrook is 93. So it encompasses everybody. This golf course is a huge asset for Rapid City. It is a showcase as you come into the town from the west side. We have tons of tournaments. that are there, and ones that are from South Dakota too, that are driven by South Dakota Golfer Association. So people come from all over the state to play in these tournaments. And you know, I keep saying Pesic Field's iconic, Meadowbrook Golf Course is iconic. There's a lot of people that have played a lot of golf there, and people love coming here to see it, because I think a lot of it's got to do with why that course is there. And that's because of the flood, and I think people think about that. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that presentation. I will have to say I'm disappointed that in the strategic plan they did not address the green on 11, because that thing is diabolical. And it ruined many rounds for me. But I echo your sentiment. When I first got into the game, there's 2 courses that I played at because they were affordable for a kid my age, and that was Executive and Meadowbrook. And when you think about, like you mentioned in 2020, the influx of people that were just trying to get outside to find something to do, affordability and accessibility are not things that you commonly find anymore. And so the fact that you guys have been able to do that and maintain everything that you do as well as you have can't be overstated. And so kudos to you on that. My one question I just want to clarify on is there still potentially $400,000 in 2028 to help go towards this progress?
Yes. Most of that would probably be in design. There's quite a bit of design that goes into these projects, so I would say that $400,000 would probably be a design. So I would not say that would cut into the 3.1.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Questions from the committee? Chair recognizes Greg Hansen.
Thank you. Is part of your cost to this project would include replacing all of the feeder lines, the main lines, and?
Correct. It would be a total, complete overhaul. The only thing that it would not is our main pump station was done about 4 or 5 years ago, so it doesn't include the pump station because that would be adequate for the system.
Yeah, okay. Is it like black PVC, what's down now?
Yeah, there's PVC lines. We would probably, can't think of what's. High density polyethylene. Yeah, HDP. Darren's actually been doing a really good job on our irrigation at Executive, so he's probably more technical with the stuff that goes into the ground. So if you have any technical questions, I do.
Well, I was just curious that it's starting from scratch, then you just dig it all up, except the pump and.
Yeah,
all new lines.
if you've looked at Executive, it looks like a war zone over there, but I can't wait till it's all finished. It's going to be the best par 3 course in the Midwest, I guarantee you.
Okay. Thank you.
If I understood this correctly too, you would be able to potentially, I'm not saying phase, but during the construction, just to maybe keep the golf course somewhat usable, because I would imagine a good portion of this would have to take place during the time when you want to be playing, that you could do 9 holes, leave the other 9 open, and then flip-flop. Is that correct?
That's what our golf superintendent said, that it would probably be feasible to be able to, because how the courses are lined up, that we could do 9 holes and then kind of bounce back and forth play. So getting that part finished and then close that down or open that back up when we can, and then start the second half of the project or whatever on that. But as far as 1 year, these 9, and then in 2 years down in the cycle to do the other 9, I think it would have to be next to each other at least,
Sure.
or in the same year.
Right, absolutely. Thank you. Chair recognizes Holly Howie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe you could give me a little bit of an education on the fees that you collect from the golfers. Where does that money go, or how is that spent? And can you raise your prices in order to factor in for this project?
Very good question. The golf courses are enterprise funds, so anything that we make out there pays for the expenses, and we actually do a pretty dang good job. We're at about 93% recovery on our golf course at Meadowbrook. The national average is about 75-80%. So to kind of give you a rough estimate, we let's see if I have enough time. We do about $1.2 million in revenue, and we pay or out about 1.3. So it's about $100,000 loss right in there. It's kind of where we've been consistently over the last 4 or 5 years. So we're not making money to be able to put back into it, into the golf course. So does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay.
Chair recognizes Greg Hansen.
Thank you, John. Kind of along those lines, could you implement a $5 irrigation fee to fund something like this? And, you know, you try to keep it affordable, you mentioned that, but just for a one time for 2 summers, everybody pays $5, whatever the number is, to go into a irrigation, you know, because you're really the green fees pay for the operations, right? The capital stuff has to come from another source, like this, but sometimes you see where there is a capital fund fee that could go away once the money's been generated. Just an idea.
Yeah, and we actually do that already. We have what it's called is a development fee, and it's $1 per 9 holes. And so an 18-hole round, of course, is $2. What we use that, we used to use that, try and use it for smaller projects, but we used to use it to offset our loss, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, we shouldn't be doing that because we should be trying to make the golf course better than just using it to cover our losses. So we started probably 10 years ago. We started using that money, and we bought new equipment with it, because 10 years ago what we got was the parks department's equipment that they were going to get rid of, and so we were getting 15, 20-year-old equipment. And once we got that new equipment, it made the golf course a lot better as far as the maintenance goes, and that's why the course has really come back around in the last 10 years. It was really rough there probably 10, 15 years ago. It was starting to get pretty rough. So we've been trying to save the course by using that money to keep our equipment up. But yeah, I mean, that's something that could be, but with that said, we only raise, I'm going to say probably $50,000 to $100,000, and it's about $60,000, yeah, right in there, for development fees at that fee. So it would be kind of tough to do that, but it's possible.
Well, thank you, Doug. Again, appreciate the tours, and I very much want to say appreciate your passion behind the projects as well. Obviously, you always see the passion when you get the volunteer groups up here, because it's kind of a labor of love for them. But you can definitely tell that this isn't just your job; it's your passion, and you do a great job at relaying that and presenting these projects. So, thank you very much for everything that you do and everything you've done for our community. Greatly appreciate it, sir.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Alrighty. Quick update for those online and those in the crowd. This project was originally scheduled for tomorrow, but we had the Parks and Rec department here, and we had some time remaining, so we just decided just to wrap up all of their requests with the playground upgrades. And so tomorrow's schedule will look a little bit different. We'll still start at 4:30 with Canyon Lake, and then follow that up with Black Hills Works, and then immediately go to the Journey to wrap up all of our public presentations. So again, thank you Parks and Rec for being here and for doing all these. And with that being said, Darren, the floor is yours, sir.
Sounds good. Again, thank you, committee. So yeah, we're just gonna dive right into this project. We have a number of playgrounds around the city that are getting to the end of their useful and safe lifetimes. So we've addressed those in this Vision Fund request, and we'll get started. First off, why the need? Playgrounds by their nature are designed to attract children. You know, a better definition is they're an attractive nuisance. People are going to go and play on them regardless times of the day. They're just naturally going to want to go and play on them. With the exception of Johnson Ranch Park, all the other listed playgrounds are at the top of our replace or remove priority list due to recent inspection reports. Some of the major concerns deal with safety surfacing, use zones, age and condition of the equipment. We have repaired what we can over the years, but most of the playground equipment is at the end of its safe and useful lifespan. The estimated cost for this project is $2.4 million, and Parks and Rec can contribute about $300,000 from our 2026 CIP fund. So our first priority is Johnson Ranch Park. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Johnson Ranch Park. It is a parcel of donated land, but due to budget constraints, we have not been able to develop it into a functional park. Moving forward, ideally, we could achieve parkland dedication to where when we do develop areas and when they are turned into parks, are specified for parks, they also come with funding. Again, you've heard it before, our biggest issue is, yeah, we stretch a penny every day of the week. Vision funding would allow us to install a parking lot, initial site utilities, sidewalks, as well as accessible and fully inclusive playground with synthetic safety turf. The estimated cost on this one is $800,000. Moving on to our next priority, Robbinsdale Park, the lower playground. This is where we had our tour a few weeks ago for those that could attend. The current playground equipment at this location was installed in 1995. We have concerns with safety surfacing, equipment that does not meet current standards. The estimated cost for a fully inclusive, accessible playground with synthetic turf would be $500,000. Our third priority is Canyon Lake Playground number 3. Again, this current playground was installed in '98. Similar concerns with surfacing, use zones, equipment. The estimated cost for an inclusive, sensory, and accessible playground with the synthetic turf safety surfacing is $480,000. And just moving to the south in Canyon Lake Park, priority number 4. The playground there was installed in '98. Similar concerns with the other parks. The estimated cost for this one, this is more of a 2 to 5 year old tot lot, is $112,000. I forgot to change the slide, my apologies. And then on to our fifth priority, that's Thompson Park. The current playground equipment was installed in 1976 and 1992. Similar concerns with the rest of them. The cost to install new equipment there is $156,000. And then our sixth priority is the upper playground at Robbinsdale Park. Current equipment there was installed in '96, and we have an unknown date on the swings. The estimated cost to replace the equipment with similar amenities, sensory design elements, as well as synthetic turf safety surfacing is $150,000. And then on to priority number 7, American Legion Park. Current equipment there was installed pre-1970 and 1998. Similar concerns with safety surfacing, age of the equipment. Estimated cost to replace that equipment is $117,000. And then on to our last replacement, the College Park 2 to 5 year old area, often referred to as a tot lot. We have an unknown date of when the equipment was installed, but the area where it was installed in used to be a wading pool back in the 50s. And it has a sand surface, which is probably the least desirable surface you can get. When it gets wet, it gets rock hard. When it freezes, it essentially is concrete. So we'd like to replace that with a similar 2 to 5 year old setup with synthetic turf, and that's about $90,000. So again, we'll sum up where we're at. Our goal at Parks and Rec is to provide safe, accessible, inclusive, high-quality playgrounds for everyone to use and enjoy. Public playgrounds offer a free opportunity for children to gain self-confidence, grow creativity and imagination, help cognitive and social development, keep children physically fit and active, as well as many other obvious benefits. Accessible playgrounds provide a place where kids can be kids regardless of their age and own individualities. And on another note, this has been a fun project. I started with Parks and Rec about 10 months ago, and this was my first assignment. They said, hey, here are priority playgrounds, go take a look. So I got the book, I got the priorities, started heading out to each site one by one. And as many of you probably witnessed when we looked at them, I showed up and I'm like, it's a playground. What's wrong with it? You know, it looks fine to me, but you know, there are a lot of things that come up that the untrained eye can't see. And in my brief time with the city so far, I went on to Certified Playground Safety School a month ago, successfully passed, and then now I'm a Certified Playground Safety Inspector. So now that everything's come full circle, like I see why. I read the reports previously and they kind of made sense, but not really. But now after taking the class and go out, well, absolutely, like these need to go away. And without funding, these playgrounds will change one way or the other. They will either be slowly removed over time, or we can start sequentially replacing them and have no lapse in options for families, grandparents, friends, and children. Also, as a father of a 5-year-old and an 8-month-old, I see the importance in playgrounds. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on the project. So, any questions?
Thank you so much, Darren. And yeah, if you don't know, you would never notice.
No, absolutely not.
I love the one at Johnson Ranch, of course, just because if there's nothing there, it's such an easy thing to add to a community that's going to have an instant impact. I mean, I've used this example before, but that one that you guys did over by Sioux Park, that very much is like this with the turf and all of those. I mean, that thing is slammed all the time, every time I go by it, even during school. And I'm like, why aren't your kids in school? That's there, but it's always busy and it's just an instant impact. So thank you so much. But if you could help me out with that one specifically, when you say like initial utilities, what does that entail?
So right now it's just a vacant lot. There are no sidewalks. There's no parking lot. The water is right to the edge of the property line. So when we build that out, we want to build it out in a way that we can easily pick up the momentum we've started on. If we want to add a shelter or a restroom in the future, we're going to provide the utilities at the edge of the parking lot so we don't have to dig up.
I see. Yep.
And go back and start from scratch.
Understood. Very good. Thank you. Chair recognizes Lloyd LaCroix.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Darren, I was going to be sarcastic and say, who inspects these? But you answered that. Because quite frankly, I've been involved with, you know, people go out to inspect the bridges every 2 years and assess them for longevity, damage, and so forth. So I was wondering who and what come up with this, because in our tours, you know, I look at them from layman person, I'm going, they look fine.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, except for, you know, the history of you guys talking about, you know, the, instead of rock, having the rubber mulch, or you know, that type of labor. When you come in and start talking about the different stuffs, then you see it. But yeah, it's difficult to justify to people, like, when just looking at them, they look fine. I just wanted to thank you for the work that you do, because, yeah, somebody's got to go out and look at them and determine the life of them, the risks that comes with them, and so forth. So I appreciate you educating us for the park systems that we had during the tours. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Matt James.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and thanks again, Darren. Generally speaking, are there any trends in either design or features that we might see in some of these parks or playgrounds specifically?
Yeah, so my closing photo here is of the new playground at Sioux Park that opened a couple years ago. That's kind of our model playground. Not necessarily all of the elements per se. We chose that design to kind of pay homage to the old rocket slide that used to be there. But the zip lines are very popular, and the synthetic turf surfacing, that is the most cost-effective one that we've found so far. Compared to poured in place, that's the next alternative one, but that usually comes with a higher price tag. But we like to change them up. I mean, ideally, you know, the Robbinsdale Park, I'd like to get a little more park history in that, and, you know, talk about how that site used to be a former landfill, and now, you know, recycling has provided some of these components for the new, you know, educate the youth of tomorrow, you know, how things are made and what happens to them and how you can repurpose them. So yeah, we're always looking at new ideas, site-specific. You know, if there's a history element to that site that we can put in, we'll try to find that with the features of the playground equipment.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Greg Hansen.
Thank you, Darren, for your work on this. On the Johnson Ranch, it sounds like you're trying to stand up a whole new park. It's not just playground, right? Do you have any idea how much of this is playground, how much of it is infrastructure for a new
Great
park?
question. So the playground aspect of this is about 485,000, and then the initial site amenities are about, or infrastructure, parking lot, sidewalks, that's about 315,000.
Okay, all right, that helps, I guess. But those, so that's your highest priority for your ask is the Johnson Ranch project?
It is, just because essentially there's nothing really out there that the city currently has. You know, if you get in your car, the closest city park is Robbinsdale right now.
And for 850, there would be no bathrooms, just you'd put the plumbing in to add them later?
Yep, yeah, we would run the initial lines, and then bring the parking lot in, and then, you know, kind of future-proofing the site, so when we do get funding for a bathroom, we can add a bathroom.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions from the committee? Chair recognizes Lloyd LaCroix.
I just wanted to follow up a little bit on what else I'd heard today or tonight. You know, as you said, with these parks, when these new developments come in, anymore they're adding in to the cost of, they're doing a TIF, a new police station, fire station, they're adding some of that. And quite frankly, I think if you're gonna donate land to the park, or for a park system, a funding source should be, and there's a TIF, that should also be included in that. Because I think, you know, otherwise we're sitting back, the Parks Department has gotten stuck with not only you got the park space, but you have to build something there. You're also getting retention ponds that you end up having to take care of, all that type of stuff. So I'd like to see you guys pursue that a little bit more when future development comes up.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, everybody. On behalf of the committee, Jeff, just want to commend you and the fantastic staff that you have. You guys just did an outstanding job. When people are looking at moving into a community, whether you have families or whether you're an outdoors person or whether you have a pulse, you look at what the Parks and Rec looks like in that community. It is what differentiates a livable, wonderful community versus one that is not. And when you really look at the resources and budget and everything that you guys have available and compare that to the work that you do, you're the best in the country. And I commend you guys, and I thank you so much for all your efforts and for the tours. And you guys are certainly going to make this difficult situation for us and difficult decisions, but you've also made it easier with the information that you provided and with everything that you have done. So thank you so much. We'll be back 4:30 tomorrow, everyone. 4:30 tomorrow. For those online, 4:30. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.